Call this meeting to order, and we'll rise for the flag salute and prayer by the clerk. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Father, help us to be receptive to the thoughts and challenges that come to us through prayer, through the printed page, and from the world around us, and help our leaders to find the best solutions to the problems that we face. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, this is to announce that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided. Also pursuant to the 2014 bylaws, rules, and regulations of the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Burlington, time shall be set aside on the agenda for the receipt of public comments. Public comments will be received with respect to agenda items prior to board consideration of resolutions to be adopted. An additional opportunity for public comment will occur later in the meeting. Public comment shall be limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Unused time may not be transferred to another speaker. Persons may speak once per public comment period. I direct the Deputy Clerk to enter into the minutes of this meeting, this public announcement, and the advance written notice of this meeting. Freeholder Donnelly.
Here.
Freeholder Howard.
Here.
Freeholder Schwartz.
Here.
And Freeholder and Director Arter.
Here.
Freeholder Hildegard.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Amy. And Freeholder Bellegarde, I'm sorry.
Here.
God, she was.
Okay, at this time, is there a motion for the approval of the minutes of the annual reorganization meeting of January 2nd, 2014?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays, abstentions? Okay. Approval of the, is there a motion for the approval of the minutes of the conference meeting of January 22nd, 2014?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Moved by Freeholder Donnelly, seconded by Freeholder Howard. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? And at this time, it's my honor to present a proclamation to the Armed Forces Heritage House Museum with Mr. D. Pasquale here this evening. Mr. D. Pasquale is very active in our community, especially in our military affairs community. You head up many welcome homes for soldiers returning, and you have headed up the memorial in Medford as well. And it's been my honor to be at ceremonies there with you and the families of the lost servicemen. So this proclamation is for Nino's work with the Armed Forces Heritage House. And it says, whereas the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Burlington wish to honor the Armed Forces Heritage House, a highly regarded organization in the state of New Jersey, and to recognize its exemplary patriotic efforts on behalf of the United States Armed Forces. And whereas the Armed Forces Heritage House has continually shown outstanding dedication to preserving, presenting, and interpreting the history and heritage and educating our citizens as well of the United States Armed Forces located at the Joint Base McGuire Lakehurst, the nation's first operational joint base, home to 80 missions and representing all services in our military, and providing a central location for military operations in New Jersey. And whereas the Armed Forces Heritage House has contributed to the successful functions of the Joint Base McGuire Lakehurst, where basic training, combat training, airlift and refueling operations, aeromedical missions, anti-submarine warfare, critical aircraft carrier engineering, and other essential functions are conducted. And whereas the leaders and members of the Armed Forces Heritage House have brought pride to themselves in the Burlington County community at large and to our nation through their distinguished service, and they continue to give their time, energies, and resources with unfailing dedication to support our nation's military in the operations of the Joint Base McGuire Lakehurst. Now, therefore, resolve that the Board of Chosen Freeholders of the County of Burlington congratulate, thank, and applaud the Armed Forces Heritage House, its president, Nino D. Pasquale, and its members for their dedicated service on behalf of us all. Thank you.
Get the plaque up there.
Perfect. Go. Thanks, guys.
If I can just take one more moment and just translate this to plain English, and that is the Armed Forces Heritage House is a planned building to be just outside of the base, the Joint Base, McGuire-Dix Lakehurst, and it's meant to be a place for visitors to come and see the history and heritage of McGuire-Dix and Lakehurst, and see what has gone on in its past, looking towards its future, and for people to be able to also learn more about the area and the missions that occur on the base. Anything, Tim?
Well, it's going to be a 2.5-acre under roof museum on 25 acres on the perimeter of the Joint Base. So that there are a lot of museums on the base already, well, not a lot, it's free. And but this will give everybody the opportunity to come to a museum without having to have a pass to get on the base, which is fundamentally impossible.
Right.
Right.
It's more, which understandably so is more and more difficult. So we appreciate your efforts to preserve the heritage of the base to our region. So thank you for your efforts, and we're glad to do our small part.
Thanks, Dino.
Okay, at this time, we move on to public comments on agenda items. So if there is anyone present who'd like to have make a comment or question on the agenda, please remember to state your name and your address.
I don't see anybody here that's
Okay.
outside of.
Nino, you got anything for our agenda? No, you're our only hope. All right, so moving on, we have resolutions. At this time, I move for the adoption by unanimous consent, resolutions 1 through 12. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion, we'll call for the vote.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, now you can.
Now we can.
I wanted to remove items from the agenda, numbers 1, 6, 7, 8, and 12 for discussion.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we moved and seconded the others, correct? Okay, so we will vote on 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, and 11, and then return to the separated out items. So all in favor on those items I just mentioned that were not separated out?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so moving on to discussion of 1, payment of bills.
Can I just make a point? Is it possible to separate out each of these so we don't vote on them all at once? That's where we had a little bit of a mix-up before.
You want to vote on everything individually?
Well, we had a problem, remember, at a
Well,
previous
when you
meeting?
cast your vote on those, you can vote yes to certain numbers and indicate in your vote you're voting yes or no or
We're not going
abstaining.
to vote all of them at once.
I'm saying when you cast your vote, instead of just saying yay or nay, you could say yay to numbers, nay to, or abstain from.
Okay.
Okay? Am I wrong in that, Solicitor?
No, it can be, there's flexibility in terms of how it's presented, as long as it's clear and every freeholder an opportunity to vote yea, nay, or abstain on each and every question, and certainly you can break them out.
Okay.
Okay, so moving back to discussion of number 1.
Yes, thank you. So I had a couple questions with the bill list. So Mr. Troy, I'm sorry that I can't see you in person, but hopefully you can hear me okay.
I can tell you if he's making faces.
I'm right here.
So on page number 9, I had a question with regard to the Birdsall bill for $6,261. Can you tell me what that was for?
Yes, I can. Freeholder, that's for solid waste, that they provide the air quality and regulatory compliance for the resource recovery complex.
Okay. And I know I've asked this, it seems for several months now, how many more Birdsall bills do we expect to see since they have sort of, gone out of existence?
One more, Freeholder.
One more?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks. Page 11, Burchard Court, $1,987. Can you tell me what that was
Freeholder, that's engineering, it's construction services for Riverton Road, CR 603, and Branch Pike, CR 606.
Okay. Page 40, Major Consulting, $13,777. Is that for the human services building project?
The Mazer Consultant?
Mazer.
Mazer?
Yep.
That's engineering, that's rehab on Bridge D4108 on White Street in Holland.
Oh, okay. And then page 49, Parker McKay, $9,956.
They're just various capital services. If you want, Freeholder, I can send you the itemized list like we normally do.
That would be great, thank you very much.
Okay.
I was actually going to ask you if you could do that, if you could do that for me, so that's excellent. And then the only other comment I have on the bills is on page 80, the YMCA. I have to recuse myself from that entry.
Any other discussion regarding the bill list? Okay, moving on to item 6, certification of pool of qualified vendors to provide appraisal and review appraisal services and authorization to enter into agreement with vendors for the period of 2014 to 2016 for various county departments.
Thank you. So, Real Director, if you don't mind, it might make it easier. I can actually lump 6, 7, and 8 together since they all involve approval for qualified vendors.
Okay.
Did she?
She wants to do 6, 7, 8.
Did she actually motion 7 the first time?
No, she did, yeah.
She did?
They were
Okay.
moved and seconded,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Sure.
So, what I wanted to know there is there a like a cost threshold for these qualified vendors, assuming they are approved? Is there a point where we say, you know, this cost has exceeded what we are willing to do from the qualified vendor list, and we need to put it out for a full bid process or RFP process?
I believe I'm not sure the question is understood. Do you understand the question?
Yeah, we don't have a threshold limit on solicitor for qualifications experience. We don't have a threshold limit.
Right.
So once we approve these vendors, they can be selected from the list. Like, let's just say with regard to for the engineering services, they can be selected from the list to do any engineering job that we would deem appropriate in the county.
Well, any engineering job for which they have qualified with the county.
Mm-hmm.
There are, what was it that Buck said tonight, 56 different disciplines?
Yes.
So not every engineer that's qualified is a qualified engineer in each discipline.
Right, and I understand that. My bigger concern, and this is sort of after, you know, one of our recent qualified bidders was approved for a project is, you know, where we're going through this qualified list on larger, more expensive projects and not actually going through a bid process.
Well, this is a process. This is a qualification process pursuant to the public contracts law, pursuant to the pay-to-play laws. This is an open public process by which we advertise publicly, both in the local paper and on the website, solicited qualifications from companies, both all in areas of appraisers, engineers, and with regard to each and every discipline, with respect to which those folks believe they were qualified, we request that they provide examples and qualifications. A group of folks in-house with some expertise in the area reviewed the RFQs, reviewed the submissions, reviewed the examples presented, reviewed the education presented, and made a determination as to which folks were qualified for which disciplines based on submissions.
And so, you know, I understand and appreciate that. My concern is really where we are talking about larger projects. And, you know, I'm just a little bit concerned that theoretically we could have, you know, $1 million project that goes through the qualified vendor list as opposed to being put out for through the bid process and through an RFP process. So it just concerns me that, you know, we might not be getting the best price if we're just going off of the qualified vendor list.
How is this vendor list put out?
The specifications are prepared, the board is advised, and then it's put both in the newspaper and the legal ads, which is required by statute, as well as on the website. The folks who are in the pool under the ongoing pool basis are well aware of the fact that it's back out. Word of mouth we found to be pretty effective. It's out there for normally around 30 days, so there's a fair amount of time allowed for the review, digestion, and submission of appropriate qualifications that have been solicited by the county. We have folks who have been qualified in their particular professions, in their particular sub-areas of expertise, based on examples they've provided. So we think that we've arrived at a pretty good array of qualified folks in the area of engineering, in the area of architects, in the area of appraisers.
Anything else?
Okay, I don't think I have any other questions with regards to those items.
Anyone else on 6, 7, or 8? Okay. Hearing nothing, we'll move on to item 12, positions created and abolished as approved by the Personnel Committee at its meeting of January 8, 2014.
Yeah, and I just wanted to see if we could just get a quick overview of what those created and abolished positions were.
Freeholder, I can do that. I'm kind of watching that work right now, and I can report out on that. In this process, there was a 20 creates of new positions and 12 abolishments. I'll go through the specific areas. The difference between the two is that there was, through the approval of the Personnel Committee, 6 new positions for the public safety telecommunications trainees. We also already had 6 existing vacancies, so we're adding 12 there. There was also an approval to add a clerk to the county clerk's office, and there was approval to put in a weights and measures apprentice position. So that was the net of +8. I can run through the different areas if you'd like me to.
No, I think that's sufficient for me for now anyway.
Okay.
Any other questions on 12? Hearing none, at this time we'll call for a vote on resolution numbers 1, 6, 7, 8, and 12. In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I as to 1 with recusal and 12.
And I as to 1 and all the rest of them, with the understanding that the pool of qualified vendors doesn't mean that they're automatically going to get the contract, right? We're going to go out in bids?
No.
Well, then I would have to vote no for 6, 7, and 8.
Okay,
I likewise vote no 6, 7, and 8.
okay, and so abstention as noted on number 1. Ms. Wheatley, got it?
Yes.
Okay, moving along. This time we have resolutions proposed by Freeholder Donnelly.
Thank you, Director. At this time, I move for unanimous consent of resolution items number 13 through 15.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to remove number 15 for discussion.
I think you'd like to move. I think you'd like to move to remove it.
Okay.
Is there a section?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so we will act on resolutions 13 and 14 and return to resolution 15. All in favor on 13 and 14?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay, and then moving on to item 15, which is the authorization to award farm leases for various county-owned property as follows. Crystal Lake Park, Good Farms Incorporated in the amount of $38,964. Anderson Farm Park, Ware Farms and Harvesting in the amount of $12,163.50. Bobco Property, Vaccaro Farms Incorporated in the amount of $1,025. And Glen Arbor Property, Good Farms Incorporated in the amount of $5,346 pursuant to the county's Farmland Preservation Program for the Department of Resource Conservation. There has been some significant discussion at prior public meetings about the law that necessitates the bidding of these farms that will be used agriculturally, the publicly held lands that will be used for farming. And we had our solicitor look into it, and he presented us with a memo that was in our conference packets today. And the memo basically states we are legally obligated under state law to bid these lands for farming, and under state law we are not allowed to give any preference for local farmers, that the bid according to state contracts law must go to the highest bidder. And upon reading that, I am concerned for our local farmers. They're backbones of our community. We want to make sure they endure and they're able to do well in Burlington County. As you know, farmland preservation is a core belief in Burlington County. And so I have sent a letter to Senator Dawn Addiego, asking Senator Addiego, our senator from the 8th Legislative District, to sponsor a bill that would amend the public bid law so that when we are bidding publicly held lands for agricultural use, we are able to give preference or consideration to local farmers. So whereas we, as I myself do not like the necessity that we have to do this evening in this bid process and go into the highest bidder, and one of these highest bidders is not a local farmer. That is the law, and we have sworn to uphold the state constitution and the laws of our state. But we don't have to stand still, and we have sent this letter to Senator Addiego asking for her assistance so we can support our local agriculture and our local farmers. Any other?
Yes, I'd just
discussion?
like to add that a number of our farmers had reached out to me. They had wanted to come tonight in an open forum and discuss it. However, because of the holiday next week, our meeting was changed, and it conflicts with the state agricultural conference that they're all at. We understand their feelings. We're sorry that they can't be here tonight. And I just wanted to express that they, again, are unable to be here for this. I also understand from previous discussions that, because I had hoped to table this to the next freeholder meeting so that the farmers could come, but I understand that if we do that, we will set back the bidding process and we will miss spring planting.
So I have a question. What happens if we fully reject these bids? What happens to these properties? Do they then become maintained through the Soil Conservation District, or is there some other mechanism?
No, they would be,
that's at play here?
no, the fields would sit fallow until we get them rebid.
But what I'm saying is...
We own the fields, it wouldn't be Soil Conservation's maintenance.
Okay, so what, if we didn't farm these through, through this bid process, what happens to these properties?
They fallow.
They sit vacant, they sit fallow.
So here's my concern, that this is a concern, and I think Joanne has addressed this in prior meetings. Not only for the fact that we may not, we're losing out on a local farmer who has history with the property from being able to now farm this property, but I think the other issue here is how this will affect our private farmers and what it could potentially do to the price of their farm given that this is a public process and other landlords will know sort of what the bids were here. You know, I think that there's a real concern in the farming community that this is going to raise the rent significantly for even some of our private farmers. And that gives me great pause and great reason for concern.
Amy, you
Okay,
faded out.
if I may. The Crystal Lake Farm was the one that you had spoken to me about initially. You know that's staying with a county farmer, a local farmer.
Well, what I'm talking about is a different issue. So, you know, what I'm saying is, outside of that issue, outside of the issue of whether we're staying with county farmers or not, the other issue is what this does to private farmers with leasehold. And if I think it's going to ultimately raise their rates because county farm rates are now going up.
So your suggestion would be, just so I'm clear, that somehow we artificially deflate the land values so as to somehow accommodate an industry?
I don't think that's what we're saying.
Suggestion at all. I'm merely asking a question, and I'm merely posing the fact that I'm concerned, based on what I've heard from our local farmers who have reached out to me, and I've responded to them, that this could inflate their rates when they are already in difficult economic times, and what this will do for our local farming community, which I think is a big picture issue that all of us have to consider.
We're falsely inflating the market.
How are we falsely creating a market that was publicly bid?
We're falsely inflating it because by
How?
us, the prices that we are getting are more than a lot of the private landholders are getting. When they see that we're getting top dollar, they are subsequently raising their rents to our local farmers, who now may not even be in the part of the bidding process or want to bid, but now they have to pay more because we have inflated the price through this bidding process.
Freeholder, you'll have to forgive me, but my understanding, and I'll ask Pete this, is that this was a sealed bid. It was not an auction, as statute does allow the county to do. We
Yes.
are permitted to do an auction. An auction, I would think, your argument holds a little bit of water, Freeholder Schwartz, because heat of the moment, people start bidding, it starts accelerating. This was a sealed bid process. If the county were one of the bidders on here, and everything I'm looking at, we have 3 Burlington County farmers, 1 out-of-county farmer. If the county had bid on these farms, I would then say you have an argument that we have inflated the values of this. But barring the fact, or not barring the fact, stating clearly that these are 4 private owners that bid, how can you reasonably claim that the county is
I'm not saying that.
You did
the
say that.
process, let me correct that. The process that we are tied to because of what Mr. Nelson has shown us is legally binding is causing this inflationary thing. I applaud the.
And let me just interrupt. I don't know that it's so much the inflation, it's the fact that the bids are public and that other farmers can now see it. And if they are charging lesser rates, which apparently they are, that they are going to now want to raise their rates to what these public, bids are, which is the private farmers with leaseholds are concerned about that.
And what would your suggestion be to remedy that?
You know, this is why I'm asking the questions, because I really would like to remedy the situation, whether it's going back out to bid or one of the things I can talk about would be that can we do a qualified bid process here, which according to Mr. Nelson, we can't. But at the same time, you know, I think it's important to remember that we heard testimony at our last meeting from the deputy mayor of Bordentown Township, and there is precedent here for a qualified process.
Well, let me clarify, if I may. I actually received from the deputy mayor today the RFP process that they used. They did not actually use a bid process, but I have the entire process. And the thing that's actually most fascinating to me about this is in the entire document. I think you may have been copied on this too, Freeholder Bellegarde. The entire document makes no reference to a local farmer. The sole criterion for award when one submits their sealed proposal is the highest value per acre.
And therein lies the precedent, because that's the same sort of language that we have, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm sorry, what precedent?
Yet they added a qualifying process to it, and they did not award to the highest bidder.
No, they
They only
actually,
had one bidder.
they did award to the highest bidder. There was only one bidder, and they awarded to that bidder.
So it wasn't the highest bidder, it
Well, it
was
was
the
the
sole
highest.
bidder.
If you
It
have
was
one
the
bidder.
sole bidder.
They still awarded to the high bid.
It
Well,
was
what,
the,
the deputy mayor told us last time that was not the case.
Right, we did some research after he'd come in and spoke last time.
And the documents seem to tell a different story.
I have not had the benefit of that research, unfortunately, and, all I can take is his sworn testimony at this point.
Well, it wasn't
He
sworn.
wasn't sworn.
I apologize, you're right, it wasn't his sworn testimony, you're right. I'm used to being in a courtroom, but I apologize.
And the only thing I'd like to go back to regarding this letter to Senator Adiego is this: the letter is asking for the change of the law in two ways. The first way, I'm just going to read verbatim here. I would suggest you consider sponsoring an amendment to New Jersey SA 40A 12-14.1 to delete the word temporary. If accomplished, farmers who lease land for farming purposes from a private entity would be allowed to enter into negotiated leases with public entities purchasing such property, which leases could continue unless and until the public entity converts the property to a non-farming use. And that would negate the necessity for putting it out to bid. If we were allowed, when purchasing the land for public use, to just keep the lease in place and not be forced by the law to have it go into the public bidding process. And the second part we're asking Senator Adiego to sponsor a bill to change is the concern has also arisen pursuant to NJS 40A 11-13, a public entity cannot favor local farmers in the bidding process. In this connection, I would suggest you consider sponsoring an amendment to NJS 40A 11-13B that would substitute the word important for the current statutory language requisite. If this could be accomplished, it would provide the freeholders with enhanced discretion in evaluating the importance of promoting local farming when it comes to leasing publicly held lands for that purpose. And we are also enclosed in the letter Solicitor Nelson's opinion on the law, and Freeholder Bellegarde, I think the concern you have is addressed by this. Would be addressed by this proposed amendment, and because the remedy does not lie with us. We have sworn to uphold the law. We have sworn to follow the Constitution of the state of New Jersey and the laws that govern it. And this is under the current law, according to our solicitor, what we have to do to be law-abiding. And so to get any real remedy in this situation, we need to lobby our state representatives, which is what we're doing, because it is a concern. We want our local farmers to thrive, and if a state law is interfering with that ability, we are addressing it with the state.
So I'm really pleased to hear about that letter, and I was wondering, are you going to be forwarding that along as well to Senator Allen as well as our members of the Assembly?
We are starting with Senator Adiego, asking her to sponsor the legislation, and I'm sure as legislation develops, others will sign on.
Okay, well, I mean, I think that's a step in the right direction. I'm just, I think it's just unfortunate the situation that we are currently in with our parent farmers in the county, and I also think it's unfortunate that they were not able to come and speak tonight about how this will affect them. I think that as it has been laid out to us, it puts us between a rock and a hard place. It sounds like we're going to have to vote yes to this. But I will certainly be happy to join forces with you and reach out to any legislators that you think necessary so that we can address this going forward.
Okay, any other comment on item 15? Okay, at this time we'll call for a vote on item number 15. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, moving forward, Freeholder Howard.
Thank you, Director. At this time, I would like to move for unanimous consent, Resolution 16 through 23.
Second?
Moved by Freeholder Howard, seconded by Freeholder Donnelly. Any discussion? Okay, hearing no discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? And moving on to Freeholder Schwartz.
this time I'd like to move for unanimous dissent, yeah.
It could be.
Acceptance. Item number 24.
Second. Oh,
Moved by Freeholder Schwartz, seconded by Freeholder Donnelly. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? At this time, are there any questions from the press?
I just had a question about number 18, the Chesterfield intersection improvement. Is that, what is the scope of that work? Is it overlay? Is there other improvements to that intersection?
Mr. Brickley?
This is the location of the bus crash,
Okay,
528-660.
okay. Oh, wait, I'm talking about 18, 528 and 6. Okay, wait, no, I think, and 660, okay.
There was one item added at the last minute before the meeting, and so it may be 17 on yours?
Jersey construction or is it?
Jersey.
Jersey Construction.
It's the award.
That is the intersection where the bus crash occurred.
Okay.
The $1,749,000 is for installation of a modern roundabout. There was a website created by my office. I believe one of the folks from Chesterfield is here. We created a website at their request to make information available to the residents. On there is a copy of the concept, the latest concept, and obviously now it's not a concept, it's a construction document that we're moving forward with.
So then, number 17 at 545 and 660, that is the design, that's not the design roundabout?
That is the design for a different intersection, also on 660, but at a different intersection, also for a modern roundabout,
And-
but it's for design.
Federally funded.
Pardon?
Federally funded.
Yes,
Yes.
completely federal.
And then, so is there any timeline for number 18? Since you're awarding this contract as far as getting started on?
We have made commitments that we're going to get as much stuff done before the end of school because the construction is going to require a road closure. So we've made a commitment to get the work done so we can get the road reopened for school in September.
Thank you. That's it.
Okay. At this time, we open up to public comments. Please remember to state your name and address for the record.
somebody here.
Okay, seeing no takers, we will close the public comment section and move on to comments by freeholders. Freeholder Schwartz.
Yes, I'd like to see us get these meetings back on the road again. We got a lot of positive feedback when we went to the various municipalities, and I'm hoping that we can do that soon again. Also, is Eve still here? No? Okay, we had, just to fill you in, we're moving ahead with our work at the shelter. We have gotten the rate for euthanasia of dogs down to almost zero. We are now at the no-kill rate for dogs. We formed a cat committee. We know that we're confident we got where we needed to be with our dogs. Now we're working on cats. Our big problem is the feral cat population in this county, which is huge. The two towns that have the worst feral cat populations are Willingboro and Pemberton. The cat committee will be concentrating on those two towns, as well as the whole county. I also submitted to Freeholder Order my recommendations for budget for the coming year. I look forward to receiving copies from my fellow freeholders as to what they submitted. And I'd like to thank Mr. Krasson, Mr. Arter and his staff, and Eve Cullinan for working with me on this and coming up. Together we came up with some excellent ideas for not only making reductions, but for bringing in additional revenues. You need a copy of it? Mr. Troy, you have it? Okay.
That's you.
Now it is. Yeah. Freeholder Bellegarde.
Thank you. Well, and thanks for enduring me being on the phone tonight. I appreciate it, especially with the change of week with next week's holiday. So thank you very much because I'm out of town. First, I just wanted to say congratulations to Nino, if he's still there, with regards to the proclamation for the Armed Forces Heritage House. I'm
Long
very
gone.
excited
He left.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I'll just go on the record. I'm very excited about this project, and I'm glad that we were able to present him with that this evening. I did also want to mention that after our last meeting, I had spoken about how at our last meeting, I spoke about how after I was leaving there, I was going to be heading over to the Blue Shelter in Delanco, which I did, and it was just an amazing experience to see firsthand some of the individuals that are affected by homelessness right in our communities. I think that evening there were, I can't even fully estimate, maybe 20 or so people in Delanco that evening. These shelters, especially with this very cold weather that we've been having this year, are in need of volunteers as well as supplies. So, whether it's blankets, coats, men's socks, food, or just time that you can donate, they are really looking for assistance. Hopefully our Code Blue days will not be continuing, but as they do. They also asked me to extend an invitation to the rest of the Freeholder Board that if you're willing to go out and check it out, they would certainly love to have you and sort of explain what goes on there as well. So just wanted to mention that. And then I guess that's really it for this evening, especially with me by phone. So thank you again for allowing me to appear by phone tonight. Oh, I did have one more thing if I could just say. Congratulations, and we'll miss you, Danielle.
Freeholder Donnelly?
Thank you. Very briefly, Brick, good job. Pass on to all your folks. Outstanding job in what is very trying circumstances, quite frankly. As you said, the guys get a little punch drunk after a while from being at it for so long. Also, no one is here from public safety, but the folks in Central, I'm also confident, are doing a great job, specifically in a day like today where we had so many wire calls and limbs down. Just a Herculean effort by all on the staff, so I am grateful. Thank you, Director.
Deputy Director?
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Oh, I mean the staff-wise. Appreciate everybody here. Thank you guys from the paper for coming out. Oh, I'm sorry, right there, blocked. Want to also echo Freeholder Donnelly's sentiments to road crew. Great job. It's not been easy. Get ready for another round on the weekend. And Danielle, congratulations. Best of luck. And hope you remember us.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you to everyone for coming out. Thank you for the work you've been doing at all your jobs throughout this challenging season of weather. And yes, we will be on the road, but we're going to wait for, I plan to be on the road each quarter, one meeting each quarter, and we're just waiting for it to be less sub-zero before we go on trip one, because it puts our staff under strain to move around, and we don't need to add in ice, rain, single-digit weather to that. So we appreciate your efforts in doing that, and we will try and be sensitive to that, but just know by end of March we'll be at least one place elsewhere. And as stated in the State of the County address, I put out a call for all my freeholders, fellow freeholders, to turn in their budget proposals for their departments, which I received on Friday, and with all their suggestions for potential opportunities to reduce spending in their departments. I thank you for your work you put in on the memos and the time you took with your department heads. I appreciate that. I'm going over each of these memos and looking at your input and the work you've put in, and I want you to know I'm reviewing these and working with staff to incorporate your suggestions with some of my own detailed recommendations, and I will have these detailed recommendations along with each of your memos sent back out to you this Friday, by this Friday. And in addition, I have directed CFO Mark Krasson to meet with each freeholder individually to follow up and go over the incorporation of all the reductions in spending and proposed efficiencies. So thank you for your time, thank you for your efforts, thank you for being here this evening. And on that note, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Moved by Freeholder Hauer, seconded by Freeholder Schwartz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you, and have a good night.